I'm looking around and all these companies are doing layoffs. And I really came to this epiphany where, like, yes, if your personal brand will future proof you, you will make yourself more marketable for recruiters, for companies.
Welcome to the 9 to 5 Quitters Club, the podcast uncovering the creator entrepreneurs at the forefront of a work revolution. Today, we're speaking with Brandon Smithwrick, content director at Kickstarter with over 40,000 LinkedIn followers, who has mastered the art of balancing a successful 9 to 5 career while building a thriving creator business. His experience spans major brands like Ralph Lauren and Squarespace, giving him unique insights into both corporate and creator worlds. In this episode, we explore how to build a personal brand while maintaining your corporate identity without burning bridges or burning out.
The best thing I could offer to someone who works a 9 to 5 but wants to start building their personal brand or taking steps to be a B2B creator is just knowing that it comes with a price, right?
Brandon's counterintuitive approach to standing out in the oversaturated B2B creator space.
Whether it's on YouTube, whether it's a podcast, whether it's a LinkedIn post, your hook matters, right? And that's what engages people. I've noticed when I've used words like I've, you, they get far more engagement.
And make sure to stick around till the end for Brandon's incredibly practical framework for turning your everyday observations into content that resonates with advanced audiences.
You're solving people's pain points without them even knowing it, and it's just coming off fresh and organic.
This episode is packed with actionable frameworks from a creator who's generated millions of impressions while working at major brands, showing you exactly how to leverage industry expertise into content that builds authority without sacrificing authenticity or career stability. Let's dive in, and we hope you enjoy this conversation with Brandon Smithwrick.
I'm a content director for Kickstarter, where basically I just oversee the brand's content marketing strategy. Fell into that literally just from working in the world of social media. I just loved social and started off really early in social. Like, I remember the day Instagram launched Instagram stories. I was working for a brand and we're like, cool, what are we gonna do? So like growing up within like that world of digital content has just brought me here. And then by way of working within social media and content, I just became really adept within social and fell into the creator world. I know that's really common nowadays. Some call it, you're a career creator because you're also on the side of corporate America. Others just say like you're a content creator, but maybe you want the B2B side. But I would say over the past 3 years, I've really dedicated a ton of time into the creator space. Growing my LinkedIn, now it's like 40,000. I now have a newsletter also, right? So like even like expanding my creator world and business. And it's been incredible, honestly.
So I wanted to talk to you about how do you balance the credibility you need to have in a business to business space or as a B2B creator, business creator, with creative freedom on LinkedIn without like avoiding that kind of expert fatigue, all the bros talking business
Of course. I think even when I started posting on LinkedIn because I wanted to show what professionalism can look like in a different way. My LinkedIn profile picture at the time was a beanie, like kind of unprofessional, but it was just really authentic to me. I see so many creators on LinkedIn falling into this trap of just like regurgitating advice. They think they need to like lead with, I'm an expert in this, I'm a pro at this. I think doing that kind of robs you of a certain level of personality or freshness. When you're a B2B creator, yes, on these platforms, credibility does help you grow, but I also think you cannot manufacture credibility. There are certain things you need to give up to time. Once time kicks in, right, or maybe how consistent you are or how much value you provide, that helps build credibility. But I also think this is interesting because we all have different levels of what we find credible. Like for you, you may read my content and 6 months in, you're like, you know what? I trust this guy. For someone else, it could be like after a year of seeing my content, you know what? That post shifted my mind, right? So like I can never tell people, hey, I'm a creator, I'm credible this. That's something I really cannot control. What I can control is how consistent I am, what I post about, what value I provide. And when we look at like creative freedom and freshness, again, I think it can be very stagnant if you are a one-trick pony, right? If I only talk about that one thing, it gets super stale fast. So my strategy or framework there was, yes, I love social media, but I don't want to be branded as the social media person. Because me, myself, I'm so multidimensional. So I said I'm going to pick 5 topics and I'm just going to alternate between those topics. So I'll talk about social media. I talk about content marketing in general. I talk about being a creator. I talk about building a personal brand, and then also just give advice about career progression. Because again, I started off really not knowing what I was doing within social. Like, didn't know how to build a platform strategy. How do you work at building this content calendar? At the company I was working with at the time, I was their first social media hire. Like, there was no one above me to teach me social media. And that was an interesting place, but I think, everything happens for a reason. In retrospect, it made me work harder because I always felt like I was behind.
Do you think consistency in this space on LinkedIn is in itself a way to build credibility? Do you hear that from coworkers? Because I'm sure you talk to other people you work with who are curious about like that side of what you do.
Oh, for sure. And I definitely think, yeah, like the Gary Vee example is actually really good. Like, consistency isn't a number. When I started on LinkedIn, I remember at the time I was playing. People told me like, you should post on LinkedIn more. Like, I literally had friends who worked at LinkedIn being like, hey, we're going after creators. I was one of the people who were like, what is a LinkedIn creator? Like, what is that? Right. So I wasn't even bought in until a day where I was just like, you know what? Let me just try this for 90 days. What's the worst that can happen? And that doesn't mean I posted every single day for 90 days. I posted 2 to 3 times a week. And I think for me, that was the best because, again, going from not posting anything to posting every single day for 90 days, you're not going to be consistent. That's like saying I haven't
Yeah.
worked out a day in my life. I'm going to
And
start
now
running
I'm gonna-
5 miles a day. Let's go. No, you're going to burn out, dude. Like, that's
Yeah.
not feasible. I also want to be as transparent as possible because I do work at a corporate job and optics matter, right? So if I'm posting every single day or I'm commenting every single day or doing all this stuff, what time do you have to work, right? Those questions do come up. So even when I was starting to post often, I was very transparent. Like, hey, I schedule all my posts. I sit down on the weekend, I content batch, I write everything. Everything is scheduled. And for me, again, I think my superpower, because I worked in social so long, I knew how to write engaging copy. So it probably didn't take me as long of a time to write an engaging post to someone else. I knew how platforms worked, right? So because I'm so used to knowing the algorithm, I can probably understand metrics in a different way. Because I also know tools, all right, cool. I know how to schedule things natively through this platform. So I do acknowledge like my ramp up time, it's like building my brand might have been different because I had years of experience doing it for other brands.
You've done stuff with like Ralph Lauren and Squarespace as well, right?
Yes.
How do you balance maintaining your creative voice, doing stuff with brands like that versus your Kickstarter creator first strategy? What's the thread that you carry through all of those things?
For sure. And just like for additional content, I started as a content strategist for Squarespace and then became the social lead. I was there for like 3 years. And then I used to work at Ralph Lauren where I ran Polo, the social channels. So even other jobs, I've always been like a bit vocal online or doing things online. But I think the best thing I could offer to someone who works a 9 to 5, but wants to start building their personal brand or taking steps to be a B2B creator is just knowing that it comes with a price, right? I worked at Squarespace at the time, so I can't do partnerships with other brands that conflict with that. It's not going to be a good look, right? I work at Kickstarter. I still have to be very mindful of whether it's a partnership I do, a brand I align myself with, because when you are an employee of that brand, you're kind of like a brand advocate, right? You still represent the company no matter what you do. So there's just always that thing in the back of your mind. And I think that's a good guardrail to have when you want to be maybe a full-time employee and a part-time creator. Because again, I think the creator economy is growing and a lot of people see it and be like, oh, I'm going to be a full-time creator. Slow down, right? Like that's a huge thing to do. That's
it doesn't come with dental or anything.
It doesn't come with any benefits. So before you like dive head first into being a creator because you think it's cool or it's easy, you're looking at creators who make it look super cool, make it look super easy. Video editing is a skill, right? Crafting a really good video script, that takes time. Knowing like, all right, how can I engage an audience in 3 seconds? Or how can I do whatever trend this is in an engaging way and be consistent with it? There's so many reasons why creators burn out so quickly. Like the ones that have last because they have a team, they have a strategy, they have a framework. So like what you're seeing is not the full picture, I like to tell people.
Speaking to both sides of this, whether someone is wanting to transition towards a full-time creator with all that implies, or if they've listened to past episodes, they've followed creators, and they're just interested in building their own personal brand for leverage in their career. Because I think people's inclination is that they have to like trash the industry they're in to make noise. So how do you kind of like do that in Congress with the company you work for as you build your own brand?
People really do like trash just to be like provocative in like their first post, just to build a brand. This goes into like my steps or framework, but because I never positioned myself as an expert or, you know, like a thought leader, like I didn't even like the term thought leader. I'm just sharing what I know in real time. And I think that's what's impactful for people, right? Just share an observation, an idea, a concept, a tactic in real time. You don't have to say, this is how you grow 10x in 5 days. You know, like you, that's the trope a lot of people fall into, which is nothing is wrong with that, right? But you can easily be like, hey, I've noticed a lot of brands aren't doing this. That's a way to start building up authority or start having eyeballs kind of like come to your page. I would just tell them, hey, first figure out what you want to write about. It's going to be really confusing if you're touching upon topics that are so far away from each other. So just start talking about your interests in the industry, your expertise. Talk about your observations. Maybe pick 3 of the biggest learnings in your past career. Like I'm an industry switcher, right? I came from fashion, now I'm in tech. I would even focus on, here are 3 things fashion taught me that I'm applying to my tech job. Come at it from a different angle. And I would say, don't try and post every single day. Shoot for 2 to 3 posts a week. I think that really helps build up your personal brand in an impactful way. And then again, try and figure out ways to automate it for yourself. You can schedule posts natively in almost every single social channel. I can make an Instagram carousel and then natively in Instagram, schedule it out. In LinkedIn, I can do the same thing. I can just natively schedule it. So as someone who has to juggle multiple priorities, I encourage people who want to do the same. Listen, you don't have to be online directly as the post is published. That's something I couldn't do because I was literally in meetings. And that's okay.
We'll be right back after this brief message. This podcast is brought to you by Teachable and therefore has no sponsors. So we just wanted to take a moment to encourage you to go check out Brandon's LinkedIn profile and his newsletter, where he shares insights about content strategy, social media optimizations, and building a personal brand while maintaining a corporate career. Creators like Brandon are the reason this podcast exists, so supporting them helps support our ability to bring you more of their stories and lessons. You can find more from Brandon at content2commas.co, where he offers deeper dives into his content frameworks and career building strategies, which is also linked in the show notes or description. Okay, now back to the episode. As someone who's a writer who thinks about language, do you have, even just off the top of your head, like a couple other phrases that are like a positive way to share what you're seeing without like trashing the company you work for or anything like that?
And I've noticed this because no matter what content you create, whether it's on YouTube, whether it's a podcast, whether it's a LinkedIn post, your hook matters, right? And that's what engages people. I've noticed when I've used words like I, you, they get far more engagement, right? So you kind of personalize the content. In terms of like other ways to kind of frame it that doesn't like trash the industry totally, just lead with the stat. I've making this up, right? You could easily just say like 40% increase in social media views. And then the next line be like, this is what we saw when blank and blank. And already like you're just like reorienting the framework of the post. But it just helps in that way because again, on LinkedIn, people typically only see the first 3 lines. And because LinkedIn has like this weird line break system when it comes to posting, it's really like 2 lines. So those are like the most important pieces within your content.
Do you think LinkedIn is kind of the most forgiving, best platform to start building an audience?
I do think it's easier, but I also acknowledge, and this is just from what I've heard from people, right? A lot of people are scared to post on LinkedIn because on TikTok, I can kind of post where like no one knows me. Most of the people we follow on TikTok, we don't have a personal connection with them. Something comes across our feed. Oh, I love this creator. Now you're following them. When it comes to LinkedIn, people are like, oh, but my coworkers follow me, but they're going to see it. And this, and like all those ideas start to like affect your content. For me personally, and I know this is just a tough thing, I just reached a point where I was like, you know what? I don't care. Like I'm gonna have to post. And if I can like encourage anything, maybe this is just the world of tech I was in at that time. I'm looking around and all these companies are doing layoffs. And I really came to this epiphany where like, yes, if your personal brand will future proof you, you will make yourself more marketable for recruiters, for companies. And I've even seen this where I've talked about something within the world of social, and the next thing you know, hey, we were just talking about this in the office, and we're actually looking for someone who could help us with this. People will natively reach out. So I do think if you are able to write about your expertise and you want to position yourself within the professional space, there's no better place than LinkedIn. And also, most people on LinkedIn don't post. So when you do post,
Yeah, right.
it gets seen.
Just throughout your career, it seems like you found almost like antiviral strategies or just ways to go about this. I would really love like some low effort, high impact content formats that people can apply to their doing, that people should at least experiment with and be trying rather than just sitting there going like, what is viral?
So when I was at Squarespace, we did this campaign with Bjork, and with that, it was like an opportunity where like, we're a tech brand making websites, and this is like an international music icon. How can we make something feel really organic, but yet really cool? And we had like a couple of moments also at Squarespace where we just did a ton on social. Everything from like, all right, let's have a Twitter conversation with John McEnroe because we were going to like launch thing with John McEnroe. And like, we just had a back and forth on Twitter, random. Other things was like, all right, let's do something on YouTube that was just like super out the box. Other things were we created a close friends account for like people who we wanted to talk about our brand, posted a teaser saying exclusive for them. And naturally, people love to share exclusive news. And then they were the ones talking about our brand versus us talking about our brand. And now, hey, we're having our fans literally sing our praises, and everyone's coming to them because they trust them, because they trust brands iffy, right? Because brands are really, really salesy sometimes. But when I think of like, how can you be anti-viral but still have like this high ROI, excuse me. One thing I would just encourage is you don't know what post is going to hit. I know that's super annoying for brands because like they're looking for, all right, how do we go viral? You don't know what post is going to do well. And I see it time and time on my creator business to when I'm working for a brand. The truth is the post you spend the most time on, it's not gonna go viral. Because you spend so much time thinking about it, manufacturing it, all this stuff. It may perform, but it probably won't go viral. And I've seen time and time again those posts that literally just like come to you and like, all right, no, but let's just post this. It will outperform things you spent days and weeks doing. And that's consistent. I just had a friend literally post on LinkedIn, and she had 35 million impressions off a video. And if that was on another channel, that would equal 35 million views. And like, it was just off the cuff. So I would definitely just encourage, hey, be reactive. Like, yes, you want to play your content, prioritize just being reactive sometimes. When things hit me, I have a Notion doc that just says brain dump. I just jot it down. When I listen to a podcast, like, I'm just going to jot it down. And because I have this content trained brain, I'll be having a conversation with someone. We could just be talking, Jonah. I'll be like, that's a post. Like, if you have this question, if you have this pain point, others do too. So I'm always just taking this in the back of my mind. And that's how you just create high ROI content because you're solving people's pain points without them even knowing it. And it's just coming off really just fresh and organic.
Is there a list of things you go through with everything you post, even if it's coming from, which I love you say, like trust your intuition sometimes just to get an idea out. But how do you package that idea, or how much are you thinking about packaging?
So really on my Notion, I'll jot down a ton of ideas. And from there, I will take, let's say, a single idea and make a LinkedIn post about it, or maybe make a Threads post about it. Because if I have a single idea, I can break that out to maybe like 3 thread posts. Maybe it's like 1 or 2 LinkedIn posts. And then whatever posts are doing really well there are indicators. I like to say that's a low effort because when you are recording video, I have to clean up this background. I got to put a fit on. Let me work on the lighting, natural daylight. You have to do so much manufacturing before you even start shooting. Let me script, right? When it comes to writing, hey, I'm in my pajamas. I'm chilling. Let me just start writing. And I can write like 3, 5 posts, right? So I think that's definitely low effort. because writing allows you to just get the ideas out, be super organic. And then whatever posts are performing well, I would encourage creators, go to ChatGPT, say, hey, I need you to turn this LinkedIn post into a video script. And then that's how you really know, all right, cool. Out of these, making this up, 30 LinkedIn posts, these 6 did really well. So let me turn these 6 into video posts. And now you have kind of this validation before you hit publish that these posts have a higher likelihood because people are really engaged with them. I would say that would be maybe one of the easiest frameworks.
You just gave me an idea, so I got to jot this down.
Again, brain dump, right? You just have an idea, write it down.
Yeah.
I love it.
In that same vein, you have all of these cool dualities in your history of it, like creator, full-time. You also came from the fashion industry into like the tech space. Are there specific fashion industry tactics that help you succeed in tech or help you stand out when you came to like Squarespace? Are there certain ones that totally backfired or like ate dust?
That's so good. Because when I was, again, starting off in fashion, right? You're just going off your intuition, and then you learn maybe techniques. Like I would say Ralph Lauren was like a boot camp. They taught me so much about storytelling. It taught me so much about how you publish, because again, it was the biggest channel I had to manage. For it was like 8 million followers on Polo. It's like the amount of people who even see your posts, like stakes were high.
That's a lot of pressure. Yeah.
A lot of pressure. No, for real.
Yeah.
It was a lot of pressure. And then at Squarespace, I would say it was such like this sleek presence and like very kind of curated, but it's not like the brand pushing the product, is more like the platform. And what people do with that platform is really cool. Versus Polo, we're like, hey, we have this new scarf, we have this new sweater, we have this new collection. Like it was always like the brand being cool. But I will say the one thing I kind of took from fashion into tech was editorializing your content calendar. Because at Ralph, I had to think about, all right, we have this new collection. So hype, it needs to interest people. It needs to be like emotional. It needs to get you this feeling. All you're gonna see is a print. Like, what is this? Is this corduroy? Like, it was just like, it kind of builds this universe around your collection. And then cool, we're gonna have this carousel. That's gonna give people more information and they're gonna share it. Next, we're gonna go like on a product focus, right? It was so technical on how you like posts next to each other. Now, I do advise brands, people see your posts in silo. What that means is I'm going to see Teachable's posts on the feed. It's very unlikely I'm going to see Teachable's posts and go to their page and then see all of their posts. Only 2% of your audience really does that. But at Ralph, we were really intentional about like how posts live next to each other. So I took that strategy and brought it into tech. So even when I was at Squarespace, again, I came from marketing a tangible physical product to marketing a service. There's a lot of stuff within that failed. In terms of like, all right, it's just a new muscle I'm working. I can't talk about things the same. I didn't have to talk about features and benefits when I'm marketing a tartan sweater for Polo, right? But when it comes to Squarespace, I'm talking about the features and benefits of this product or tool. So it was definitely a learning curve, I would say, for like months of my employment. But I definitely started to figure out certain formulas. But I think being an industry switcher allows you just to bring new ideas. So when I editorialize a tech calendar, I'm really thinking about, oh, cool, we have this product launch. We're not just going to post when it's live. That's lame. No, we're going to actually have a teaser. And then we're going to do this. But then our stories, we're going to do something interactive about like, guess what we're launching. Just so our community would just reply back. We have a whole bunch of, like, we would just come up with different tactics. And I would encourage my team to not look at what other tech brands are doing. Let's look at what beauty's doing. Let's look at what fashion's doing. Let's look at what homeware is doing. I actually think beauty channels have literally some of like the best social media tactics. And I would look at like what these beauty brands are doing and figure out how can I apply it to my brand.
The fashion industry is one of those spaces where like brands almost hold the same relationship with their customers as like creators do. It feels more personal. Maybe it's because you literally wear the thing. It becomes part of your life. But, you know, I find like in that people will be like, oh, I'm a Ralph Lauren guy, or like I'm a this kind of person.
Yeah.
I don't really hear people being like, oh, I'm a Squarespace kind of guy, you know?
Right. That fandom, you have to manufacture it in other industries for sure.
But I do think Squarespace, and especially your when you were there, like did breach into that. Do you think there is like one or two things that tech companies undervalue or don't get right compared to that kind of relationship with a brand?
I do think tech has this one-way conversation with their community. Unless people are asking for a product feature or, hey, we want this, that's the only time a tech brand will be like, oh, let me bring it back to my product team. Otherwise, we're just telling you a feature, a benefit, a use case, like it's just this one-way dialogue. And in fashion, maybe it's because it's so personable. Fashion is how people express. For some people, fashion is art. Fashion companies will launch something, beauty brands will launch something, but then their community will show how to use it. They'll literally use UGC just to be like personable. And I don't think tech brands really can use UGC in that same way. Tech brands have to hire creators, but like the constant thing of here's how X person wore it, here's how X person used it, or just doing all this thing that just make it feel like a community. Yeah, tech brands have a big issue there. When you are a tech brand and you're constantly just talking about yourself, it's going to be at a certain point unexciting. We've heard it. You definitely want the people showing, yes, Teachable made this for courses, but here is how I used their tool for courses and I did this with it. And like, it might not even be what it was designed to do, but your community is the one leading the charge and encouraging other people like, oh, I never thought about that feature like that. I should definitely use it. That's more impactful, in my opinion.
The way companies function being huge entities, it's harder to take risks. People want to know if something's going to work or not, even if it is a risk.
Yeah.
But you have an idea you believe in. How do you communicate that, whether you're like consulting as a creator for a brand or if you're working within a company? How do you present a framework that leadership can get behind for measuring success or the value of taking that risk?
I think, and this is something I've had to learn just because when you're in social, it can be really easy to fall into the trap of, well, look at this many views. It's so cool. And like, because you're the one constantly engaging, like, oh yeah, this is doing awesome. And it's hard to get leadership or other teams to like understand the impact. They're just like, cool. The youth are loving it, quote unquote, right? Like they don't like really understand that full impact. So what I've had to do is learn how to kill them with the data, but also tell a really good story with that data. If you are working in social or you're a marketer and you have an idea, but you're like, I need to tie it back to something bigger, I can't just fall on these vanity metrics. I can't just communicate this and think they'll get it. There's been times where I had to say, hey, we're doing this on social, but here's the impact. People who see a product are 4 times as likely, right? So now we're driving influence. Or what I have to do is even partner with the paid social team. Like, hey, when people engage with your content organically, the algorithm shows that they're interested in said content. And now, and we've all done this, right? I like one post from a brand, I go search them, all of a sudden I'm getting ads from them. Right?
Yeah.
So I've even had to communicate with my leadership team. This organic strategy, yes, it drives impressions, but what we just did is widen our pool of targeting. The paid social team is now going to take this larger audience that has already had one touch point, and now we're going to put them in our funnel, right? And I think you need to build the dashboards, you need to have the metrics in place to even like tell this cohesive story. Even if your metric, let's say, is link clicks, don't just say that they're link clicks. This is how many people came to our website. These are landings, right? And now we're seeing, hey, we're taking them off of a platform. That's actually not native to social behavior. People want to stay within that feed. So if this post took 1,000 people out of Instagram to our page, that is major. And the industry benchmark is X and ours was Y. Like you need to really go in depth and let them understand that like every single KPI metric on social is not just a cute like, a comment, or a subscribe. Like it is leading to real action.
When and how do you appropriately divide your focus, though? Because taking people off a platform also isn't what the platform wants.
Correct.
So when are you optimizing for feeding the platform versus succeeding in getting people off the platform?
One way I like to frame it is, and we currently do this at Kickstarter also, where not all posts are created the same. So the goal for a reel is not the same as a carousel, and they all have different KPIs. So If you are posting, I would even go a little bit deeper there where even if the content pillars aren't the same, some posts will be educational, some will be entertaining, some will be both, some will just be for like information. They all have a different rubric of grading. This post is meant to drive shares. And with shares, we are now widening the volume of people who will see our account, see this product, etc. This post is going to prioritize saves. The reason why is because we want it to be a resource for people. We want them to come back and see it again. This video is meant purely for influence and engagement. We're not going to tell people to go to our link in bio. And I think Kickstarter is awesome at this just because there's so many creative projects. People see things and be like, where can I find this? Right? I think also there's a ton of creators and brands now using chat integration within the social media strategy because it both tricks the algorithm and causes action. Comment commas and we'll send you the rubric, right? Now the social platform only sees, wow, this video is getting 500% more comments than other posts. Let's serve it to a larger audience. You just won on social. And at the same time, you're now going to DM everyone the link and then they'll go drive the action, right? You're winning for your brand, but you're also winning on the platforms.
Is any of this thinking inherently different for a creator and the content you make?
No. And I would say, let's go deeper for like creators, right? Your goal as a creator is to drive value, get engagement, grow your audience, but you also want to tie that back to your livelihood. So if you are a creator, sometimes you need to put that business hat on and be like, all right, cool. If you're a B2B creator, I would say, what's your playbook? Hey, I just did this for a brand, or like, I have seen this strategy work great. Comment the word data and I'll send it to you. I can now drive up my social engagement for that post, but at the same time, share whatever lead magnet that is. I've seen even homeware creators, and maybe this is because I'm like furnishing my apartment now. They're like, hey, look at this cool desk. Comment the word desk and I'll send you the link. I know it's on Amazon somewhere, but instead of me scrolling for like pages upon pages, I'm just going to comment the word desk and then they're going to DM me the link. Now I'm on their storefront. Yes, they're monetizing all this content. And again, that ties back to real revenue in their pocket. But me as a consumer, that's value.
Yeah. Another question I had is just like advice for career switching or industry switching, but expand if I missed something, but it's like the ability to tell a story around data, the ability to clearly define the purpose of a thing you're doing, and then the ability to explain the results.
I would also just encourage you, like, throw out how you thought about things in the past. I think that can influence your decision-making all the time. Where like, all right, it's a campaign. We do this for a campaign. I would encourage you to think differently. I would even encourage you to go into the platforms natively, look at those metrics and figure out a metric you haven't reported on. Figure out like, we don't really talk about saves. We don't really talk about shares. We don't really talk about reposts. I would encourage you, even mentions, like for someone to mention your brand, hey, that is actually our community talking about us. People only mention a brand when they're super upset and they want you to see.
Yeah, which is
which is like a majority we've all felt.
Yeah.
Or, wow, this person is like literally advocating for us. Hey, Teachable just launched this new feature and I made $10,000 in 3 months from it. Hey, that cannot be missed. That's, hey, editorial team, that's a case study. Hey, team, this is that is big. And I think so many times that goes missing because we're too focused reporting on how many views and comments this post got.
We'll be right back after this brief message. Making this practical, because I could be listening to this and be like, yeah, great. This is probably all easy for Brandon to do. He's worked with Bjork and Squarespace and all of the, So you could look at this awesome career and
Yeah.
have badass reflections,
Yeah.
How do you get good at these skills which take reps if you don't have those opportunities in front of you right away so that you create those opportunities?
That ties into my career so greatly. I started at a company called Greats. It was a sneaker brand where the hope is we make sneakers in Brooklyn. Right? Like that was the brand's whole pitch. It was a startup and no one knew the brand. From there, I went to Ralph Lauren and Squarespace. And then after Squarespace, I worked for a brand called Songfinch. That was like a music startup again. So like I've worked at big global companies where like they have an office here and here and here. I worked at startups. And that's because I wanted to see like, am I as good as I think I am? I wanted to leave fashion because, all right, is what I'm doing in fashion, can this apply to another industry? And then like I left Squarespace, like, all right, cool. Fashion, check. Tech, check. Let me try music. Like I've always been just a curious person and trying to just like prove myself. All right, can this work in this industry? Can this work over here? So I say all of that because I totally understand. You're like, cool. I don't have Super Bowl money for Squarespace, so we can't get Bjork for a campaign and win a Webby Award off of it. Like that's outrageous, and I totally get that. And I think all the awards and accolades sometimes is overrated. And I also think sometimes the brand also carries a ton of weight in terms of your engagement. That's just the honest truth. And I think a lot of people won't say that. What I would encourage is for your brand that you are building, you can still grow and drive engagement on really key channels. So I think LinkedIn is an opportunity for brands. And again, that might not be from the brand's account. That might be from like your leadership team. But you can still show a ton of ROI. And I only say that because personal accounts on LinkedIn do better than brand accounts. But you can still apply a strategy or a tactic and see great growth. When it comes to growing our YouTube, literally, I want to get the percentage right. I want to say like 700%. But it's not because we posted more videos on the main channel. We've been doing shorts. We've been taking all those TikTok and Reels and putting them on shorts. And guess what a lot of brands are not doing? Shorts. Like no one talks about YouTube shorts. So we've been doing that. And I mean, there are videos on YouTube shorts that have racked up, I want to say, like 20 million views. And each month it's still contributing a ton of subscribers to us. I would also just encourage you to figure out, cool, I don't have the budget for all the cool, exciting social content. There's nothing that beats value. And when I was starting off in my career, I would literally have conversations with our customer service team and find out what Zendesk or help articles get the most visits. All right, cool. Let's turn that into a video. So when I was working for that sneaker brand, how do you clean your sneakers was the best piece of content I ever created. That's not a sexy topic. That's not a cool thing. That's not an innovative idea. I was just like, all right, cool. What does our community really need?
They don't know how to clean their sneakers.
It's ignorant for me to like trying to push, like, no, I want them to see how you style it this way, how you style it. How do you lace your sneakers? How do you clean your sneakers? That stuff outperformed anything.
I think it all falls under the category of critical thinking, but like, identifying opportunities,
Right.
communicating opportunities, representing them, whether it's to build your own platform or just in a hard job market to stand out. How do you display those skills or develop them when you don't have those opportunities immediately available?
Yeah, of course. And I think when you are building your personal brand, like, again, you're taking your brand in your own hands. We all start off as 0 followers. That's literally it. I can walk into a company and again, Ralph already had 5 million, right? So I only did so much. But when I started my own personal brand, everyone starts at 0. So I would just encourage you to start talking about, again, those observations, but just to make it a bit more practical or actionable, figure out what your own peers are talking about. I think maybe this is another advantage because in New York, there's so many company networking events and like there's so many events over here. So I can talk to people in so many different areas and industries where I'm constantly hearing, honestly complaining. I'm constantly hearing people like, I'm constantly hearing like, oh my gosh, we can't get budget for this because they don't understand this. And like in the back of my mind, I'm like, all right, this can be a post. How do you get leadership to understand social better? So like I'm always again taking pain points, and that was always my tactic. I'm just gonna take pain points and figure out how to talk about them in a new, fresh way.
I love a few creators have said this, and I just want to amplify it more, double click on it, because especially as AI tools get bigger, it's like,
Oh yeah.
that's where all your strategies start, scrape the entire internet and stuff.
Yeah.
And a lot of creators I talk to more and more are just like, I'm just talking to people.
Yeah.
It's just conversations that are the root source for good ideas. With everything we talked about first, is there anything else that's on your mind that you want to share before we kind of wrap up?
I would just share, like, if you are listening to this because you have a 9 to 5 and you've been contemplating, like, I want to be a creator or I know I should, you probably hear this all the time. But I'm just going to say, like, the longer you wait, the harder it will be. It was super easy, well, easier to grow on LinkedIn than it is today. When the downfall of Twitter happened, everyone came to LinkedIn. And at that time, posts were getting like, well, this post got 50,000 impressions. This post got 10,000 impressions. This post got 12. Like it was easier to grow. And I grew a lot quicker 2 years ago than I'm growing now. Because now LinkedIn's like a lot more people are posting, people come to the platform. Every post cannot be going viral. And so now the algorithm has changed. Think about TikTok, right? When TikTok launched, well, my video got 10,000 views on Instagram, but it got 100,000 views on TikTok. I'm going to post on TikTok. Now things have slowed down a bit, right? So like the longer you wait, literally the harder it will be to grow. More and more creators are just entering the economy. And now things are going to get overflooded. I also think AI content has saturated the internet to its max. There are AI YouTube channels where like the whole thing is just AI done. TikTok the same way. Platforms know this also. And because there's so much AI content, even on LinkedIn, things are just going to get suppressed. I just started my newsletter, but I kid you not, people have been telling me to do this for years. And I didn't have the ideas yet, but the way I've grown, literally within a week of launching my newsletter, I'm like, yeah, if I did this a year ago, I could have been at 20,000 subscribers today. Like the delay was just myself. So yeah, please don't wait. I know it's like a broken record, but just start posting. Your first post won't be good anyway. that's the honest truth. It's gonna be okay. Just start posting.
It's a broken record worth repeating. It just
Yeah.
Okay, a few questions for you, and as rapid as we can. Number one skill to keep relevant in an AI world.
Writing is everything. You gotta write scripts. Writing encourages like how you talk about yourself, how you present things, how you package them. Writing. I write every single day.
Favorite skill or skills you've developed as a creator that make you just a better person?
Oh, that's really good. Still being a human. I think when I try and follow like every single industry best practice stuff, content does okay. This is something I forgot to mention. Like I've been testing writing posts where like the first letter is lowercase. Like it's so like, all right, this is actually not proper, but it kind of shows like, he must have just like been in a rush and just wrote this immediately. Like being super just like unpolished sometimes is great.
And then last question, best slice in New York?
Ooh. Oh no, this is a tough question. I'm gonna go Finney's. Finney's is a new one for me, but it's so good. So it's gonna be odd. They have a white slice with lemon on it. And they zest a lemon on the pizza. I know that sounds so crazy. Once you try it, you're like, I need more lemon. Like the pizza's good. Finney's.
I love it. Brandon, thank you so much for spending the time with us today. It's such a blast to chat. Excited to talk to you next week too in New York. And we'll be seeing more of you. Love watching your journey, and thanks for sharing with us.
Perfect. Thank you so much, Jonah.
Brandon is a great example of how the most successful creators aren't abandoning their expertise or careers, but strategically leveraging them. His ability to take industry pain points, transform them into valuable content, and then build a personal brand that complements rather than competes with his corporate role demonstrates the power of being multidimensional in today's creator economy. I hope you learned as much as I did, found something you can apply to your own life, and if nothing else, were inspired by Brandon's story to take a hard look at your 9 to 5 and make sure the way you work is working for you. If you want to join the thousands of other creative entrepreneurs who are building an income out of their impact, click the link in the description or the show notes to join the club and learn how Teachable can help you do the same. And if you enjoyed this episode, don't forget to subscribe to the channel and check out our recommended next episode linked here. Thanks for being here, and we'll catch you in the next one.